It's Valentine's Day. So I'm going to get away from the ephemera and muck of the present political situations of various sorts, and I shall concentrate on something eternal, like love. Love may be eternal, language changes somewhat, and so I'm going to go through a sonnet by William Shakespeare, Sonnet 116, and I shall explain a few of the words before I read it, because sometimes, in some cases, the meaning has changed. All right, I'm Graniopteryx. Are you sitting comfortably? Good. So this sonnet is called Let Me Not to the Marriage of True Minds. And it starts like this: let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediments. So he uses the word marriage, but in this case, marriage doesn't necessarily mean, that with this ring I thee wed stuff. It just means a meshing together of two minds. So it actually doesn't have to deal with physical love, although a bit later on he does talk about physical love. But he's saying there are no impediments to the marriage of true minds. And then he says, love is not love which alters when it alteration finds. And what he's saying is that if you love somebody, you will love them whatever they turn into. I lost a dear friend only a few days ago. He'd been married for, I don't know what, something like 60 years. And they were both an old couple, and he still loved his wife as much as when she was a strapping young woman. And it was just lovely to see. I'm really sorry to have lost him. But there you see the illustration. In him you saw the illustration of love that does not alter when it finds alterations, or bends with the remover to remove. Now, this is interesting. It means that if somebody is trying to dissuade you from loving somebody, then you will go with them only if your love isn't true. If it is, you won't bend to the direction of whoever's discouraging you. And a good example of that would be Othello, of course. He marries Desdemona, and pretty soon Iago is telling him Desdemona is unfaithful, and he believes him. That's not true love, is it? You wonder why he married her, and you may suspect that he married her for status, or because she was a glittering prize, a young woman of Venetian aristocracy. And he really liked her, but he told her tall tales. He admits that. So he was lying to start with, and I think he was probably lying to himself as well. Anyway, that's another story, isn't it? Othello believed Iago, which means he didn't really love Desdemona, not in the way this poem is talking about. And then we start with a lot of scientific stuff. Oh no, so the love doesn't alter when alteration finds, it doesn't bend when something tries to remove you from the object of your love. No, it is an ever fixed mark. Now, a mark here is a lighthouse or a beacon. And what we have here is an image of a strong building which remains stable through darkness and tempest, and it emits a light, a focus for you, something that will always guide you. And it's, as he says here, it looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is literally rock solid. And he continues this with the star. Now, everyone knows the stars. Well, the stars are fixed in the heavens as far as Shakespeare is concerned. Actually, nobody knew what stars were at the time. there was speculation that they were actually other suns, possibly with planets going round them. But still, most people thought of them as lights lit by angels and blown out in the morning. That's in a Greek idea. They were gods who would light the stars, and then they'd douse the light in the morning. So it was a point of discussion what a star was. But what they did know about stars was that you could navigate by them. And they used something called an astrolabe, which is a circular gadget with degrees marked on it and a rotating indicator. And you'd line up the star with the horizon and work out how many degrees the star was above the horizon. Depending on which star you were using, you'd know where you were. Every sailor, every navigator would know which constellations would rise above the horizon at which times of the year and how long they'd stay there. They'd have to know all of this and when they went down. And if they knew all of that, when they took the degrees on the astrolabe, they'd know which direction they were going in from where the stars were. So if a star is going down in the north and you see the star a degree above the north, then you'll know that you're almost pointing north and that's west or whatever. Listen, I'm not a professional navigator, but it worked something like that. And the point about this is that the star is a fixed point to every wandering bark. A bark is a type of ship, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. And what he's saying here is, you don't know what a star is. You don't know what it's worth. All you can measure is how high it is above the horizon, not above the earth. They had no way of knowing that. But how the height can be measured. You can measure that. So scientifically, you can measure where the star is. But physically, spiritually, you have no idea what that star is. And that's the analogy for love. You might try quantifying it with mathematics, but it's got an unknown worth. You can't get hold of it. You can't touch it. You can't explain it. So that's a particularly dense piece of concepts there. So he carries on with the scientific instrument. Love's not time's fool. Now, time, of course, is measured with clocks, so we have to remember he's talking about clocks here, but love is not a servant of that. Time's fool. Well, it's like when you're cheating somebody. What do they call the person who's cheated? The mark? Love isn't time's mark. Though, he says, rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. All right, so rosy lips and cheeks will go. They will be cut down by time's sickle. Remember, time is often depicted as the same way as death, as a creature in a cape with a sickle. And time's sickle will, when you're cutting something with a sickle, it describes a semicircle. Well, part of a clock, really. It describes that shape. And so rosy lips and cheeks get cut down by time's sickle, which is, he calls it as well a compass, which again is a scientific instrument and has this round shape to it. But love alters not with his brief hours and weeks. So however brief your life is, human life is brief, but love will alter not, and it will bear it out even to the edge of doom. Doom meaning judgment. The old meaning of the word doom is judgment. So here we have his description of what love is. You can measure it, you can try measuring it, you can reduce it to measured length of time, or measured height or strength, but you will never know what it is, because it goes beyond that. It goes to the end of eternity and the day of judgment. And then, of course, he makes fun, because Shakespeare often does that. In another poem, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I am going to mention it. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? The poem is supposed to be about the beauty of the object of this poet's love. And he talks about how this beauty is going to last forever, because even though time, again, wears away beauty eventually, whatever it is, your eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. That is, the fairness you have, you owe it to time, but you're not going to lose it to time. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. You see, these lines, the lines he's written, are eternal. So whatever happens to the object of his affection, the beauty of that person will last forever in those eternal lines. And so you think it's about this object of his affection, but no, it's about him. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. So he's saying, I have created you. That's the point of it. He has created all of this beauty. It may be on temporary loan to the person he loves, but this is eternal, and Shakespeare, I did that. All right, so that's the undercutting of all that affection that went before. And now we get back to Marriage of True Minds. So he said, love is this wonderful thing, unquantifiable, mysterious, but eternal. And then at the end, he says, if this be error and upon me proved, so if you can prove I'm wrong, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. A equals B, B equals C, and therefore C equals A. And it's not, it's a logical fallacy there, but that's the joke he's playing. All right, so he's undercutting all of this stuff here. Right, so now I'm going to read the poem to you. Let's see, can I move this up a bit? Yeah, that's easier. Okay. Let's see how well I remember this. Okay. Let me not to the marriage of true minds admit impediment. Love is not love which alters when it alteration finds, or bends with the remover to remove. Oh no, it is the fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. It is the star to every wandering bark, whose worth's unknown, although his height be taken. Love's not time's fool, though rosy lips and cheeks within his bending sickle's compass come. Love alters not with his brief hours and weeks, but bears it out even to the edge of doom. If this be error and upon me proved, I never writ, nor no man ever loved. All right, well, that's Shakespeare's poem, Let Me Not to the Marriage of True Minds. I like that one. Yeah, whatever you love, enjoy it. Okay? Doesn't have to be a person. It can be books. It can be memories. It can be a pet. Yep. Okay, till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.